Hello, Gunner James here. Today I'm going to do this little video on this Type B flying helmet. I acquired this from my Uncle Louis, who passed away some years ago. This helmet, he and a good friend of his each bought one probably in the early 50s. Probably 51 or something like that, from Army surplus in Canada. And I believe at the time my mother said that they both had bought these flight suits. And the flight suits, well, they've disappeared. It's hard to say. This helmet actually is surprising it survived, because it had kind of been played with, I think. Well, it had been played with a lot. I know when I was young, maybe around 12, I remember seeing it, and it we played with it, and there were donuts that were in the inside earpieces that I remember seeing way back then, and those have also, because they'd been taken out and put back in or whatever, they've gone missing, which is sad. But this helmet has, of course, historical and sentimental value for me. So this type here replaced the 30 pattern. And I think they were issued in 1936. As 35 they were working on them. 36 they were issued, and so they had two types. There were the ones without the zippered earphone covers. They just were plain leather on the sides, and then they had the other this type here, which would have your earpieces, and then you would, with the two snaps on the side there, you would put, they would attach one of these. Now, best I can do is a picture I got off of the internet. One day I'd like to have one of these, but the big center hole there, of course, had your microphone that you could switch on or off, and you had your oxygen coming in through their tube on the side there as well. But those, you can see the snaps there correspond with the snaps on the sides here, so that would go like so. That's almost the right size. So anyways, the manufacturers, I know there were three that I could find. The main ones were B. Sterling and Frank Bryan Limited, and then this one is the H. Bednall, and so it's actually pre-war. This one was 1938, and I'll show you why I know this when I take that off that foam head. But there's a case of this piece being put on there. I guess the original had broken. As far as I can tell, the rest of the zipper with the coloring all matches the other side. So this here went from 36 to 41, 42. They replaced it with a C type, and so they had come out with more straps on the back, and different little differences in the earpiece. If this did or did not have the foam underneath this piece here, I'm not sure. I know that the C type, I've seen them, they have quite a bit larger earpiece. I mean, it is quite bulbous on the outside of that helmet. This one here, I don't see that it would. This one has these little radio or speaker pieces inside of there with a little tube. I don't know if they call it a Gosport tube. And so yeah, the inside a little rough. It would have. I mean, it is a chamois, but it's a well-worn chamois. There's a piece in the inside out of it, and you can see this sort of a Frankenstein stitching. So there was a repair done there at some point, probably after the war. I'm not sure, but I do understand that early paratroopers, minus the ear covering or zippered ear pieces, paratroopers used that same helmet initially, and I'd always thought it was a Canadian type just because I'm in Canada and it was my my uncle's who was born and raised here, but the Canadian one is different. It's got like it was a lighter colored leather, and it had a different pattern of panels. They were you know, not the same as this one here. But yeah, the top of the helmet, you can see the way the stitching and the panels that I'm talking about. The Canadian one was different, and this here is, unfortunately, the strap is broke in that area, but otherwise the buckles, very surprising how shiny and in good condition. I see this one here is bared, whereas this one here has a leather covering over top of it, so I'm sure that would have been the same down there. So I'm going to take that off of there and show you the inside. So I'll take that, chuck it down to the side here, and I think I'm going to take this camera off of its stand so I can show you that label. So yes, I can do a video on this. This is it's mid-war somewhere, this parachute with the big broad arrow mark on it, and of course the one of my favorite movies, Battle of Britain, which this flight helmet would have been used, or not this one in particular. I have no idea the history. I have no idea who owned it. I don't know where it's been or what it's done or what it's seen, but that was the type they used then. Closest I ever got to anything Air Force related was the Royal Canadian Air Cadets. I was 16 when I left and reached the rank of flight sergeant. And my dad served in the Air Force in the 50s, and that's off of his cap. So that's my dad's cap badge. This here thing that it's sitting on is an Air Force duffel bag. So getting to the inside of this helmet, sorry to get sidetracked there, you can see the rubber earpiece inside there, and then the donuts, if I recall, sat right in between here and here, and you can see there's a bit of the chamois missing there, and it's fairly worn. It's had a rough life, and so yeah, a few pieces here and there missing. Now there's a label on the inside, and I recall reading that they didn't want to have these identifying marks. As far as factories were concerned, this one being in 1938, and you can see actually, if I can put my fingers in there and just open that, but there's 1938, made by, and that's H. Bednall, and then it's got Walsall right over there. Walsall number 3, and that would be a 7 1/8 by 7 3/8 if I were to spread that out. But that was made of silk, that label. These things are hard to manage with one hand, but yeah, so that was a silk label. They were not doing that when the war started. They were doing the AM stamping, or Air Ministry stampings on the inside. There's a mark here, and I think I can focus on that because that's 22 / something. Actually, it's 22 and 22C / and it would be anywhere from a 65 to a 68 would be the. I've tried to find that after the / magnifying glass, bright lights. I can't make it out. But that is my one of my most prized pieces in my collection. Like I say, it's the historical significance and sentimental value. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them. I'd like to hear what you think. Bye for now.